In this video, I want to show you how we went about creating our zebra pocket design and talk a little bit about setting it up for trapping. And when you're doing a glitter on glitter design, we can't layer heat press glitter on top of heat press glitter. So we have to create a trap when you have two colors that are touching. And this enables us to place glitter next to glitter and not worry about the shirt color showing in between the two colors. So we create a little bit of a trap. But we also need a zebra texture as well. So here is our basic vector shape for our pocket. And what we need to do is we need to create a zebra texture. Now, certainly we could go buy one that's already done, but it's actually quite easy to create your own textures. So let me show you what we're going to do. We're just going to jump out here and just type in zebra texture. And this is always the scary part because anytime I want to look for something, I go to Google Images and look for it, and I get lost because there's so many things that catch my eye in terms of various different textures. Like this right here is an interesting texture for me, the zebra, the cheetah texture, but I'm looking for zebra texture. So, um, so at any rate, I get discouraged and sidetracked quite easily. This is an interesting texture too. All kinds of things that I see. Oh, that's an interesting one, or this is an interesting one. Um, but I want to show you the texture that we actually use. There's a particular website that I go to a lot, and it's called Feature Picks. So we'll type in Feature Picks zebra texture, and we will go to Images. And this is the texture that I used. Now, the thing that's interesting about this texture is it couldn't be more crappy for the purpose that we want it for, which obviously is to cut a vinyl design. It's a really, really crappy texture for lots of reasons. It's watermarked. Um, it's a photo like of real zebra fur. And so it's really fuzzy and crappy. The size of the texture is quite small. As textures go, 450 pixels by 318 pixels. But with the right CorelDRAW skills, it's perfect. So we're going to copy it, and then we're going to paste it here in CorelDRAW. So this is the texture, and you can see just how crappy it is. Like I said, it's fuzzy edges, and it's watermarked, and these things do not play well when you typically when you go to vectorize it. But again, with the proper CorelDRAW skills, you could take a really crappy image and vectorize it actually quite easily. So let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to go to the Trace Bitmap option here in CorelDRAW and go to Outline Trace and choose a low quality image. And the settings that you choose, you know, you kind of have to play with it a little bit because every design will be just a little bit different. Um, but you could kind of look and see what I have here, kind of higher on the detail. I did add some smoothing to it. Corner smoothness, you know, you can add some of that too. You know, like I said, you just kind of have to play around with it a little bit, but we'll just go ahead and set those default results like so. And it will create us a vector version of that. And this is what we get. So I'm going to actually ungroup here. So right click and ungroup. Now when you look at this, where the watermark was, you can kind of see, you know, it doesn't look very pretty right now, but we can clean this up quite easily. So we're going to select one of these pieces here. You can't really see it, but you see it there? We're going to select that and go to our selections, and what we're going to do is hit create selection, and we're going to then delete, and that will take away the bulk of it. And then here where these odd colored pieces are, we're just going to come in here and delete them. So anywhere we see an odd color piece, just go in and delete it. Now this we're actually going to leave. See those odd color pieces? We're going to leave those. So now we have something like this. Then we're going to select the whole thing, and we're going to weld it together. Okay, now from here is where you'd go in and fine tune things a bit. You see how ragged and jagged this is? So we're just going to come in here and just selecting those nodes and then deleting them. Delete, delete. So you just kind of come in here and delete anything that you think is out of place. We can add a node on either side of an existing node just by double clicking, and then we can delete what's in the middle, and you can kind of keep the shape more or less. So we'll come in here and do the same thing. Add a node on either side, delete the one in the middle, and that'll round things off for us. Okay, so you just have to come in here and make those changes however you want to do to make your texture perfect. Okay, so we're going to put that vertically. So let's just say we have our texture the way we want it. Now we're going to bring over our pocket, position our pocket to where we want it. And now check this out. This is the easy part. We're going to just select both objects, which is our pocket shape and our texture, and hit this button right here, intersect. And what that does, it creates a new shape. Ta-da! There's the new shape. So we have our pocket plus our texture. So let's give a texture a different color. And there the two are. So we're going to select them both, and we'll hit C and E. And what that does is kind of gets it pretty close to lining up, but we'll move that right to the corner there. And now you can see everything is lined up perfectly. All right, so now we have a perfect design to sit on top of one another, but what we need to do is the trap. So you take your orange here, we'll go to our contour tool, and I usually use a 1mm trap. So we'll hit 1 mm to the inside. You can experiment with it a little bit, and maybe you don't want to use a millimeter, maybe a 1/2 millimeter. Whatever you want to use for that overlap. You need just a tiny bit of overlap. But then we'll right click and break contour group apart, and we'll take the white, and then we'll select the gray, and we'll perform a trim function right here. And then we want to look at that gray piece there, and you can see it has been trimmed. Okay, so now I'll delete the white part. Visually, our design has not changed. It looks just like it did. But if I double click my gray, you see that? All those lines there? Now you can see what that looks like. And that is that tiny bit of overlap, or for a better terminology, what they call the trapping. It traps that color so that when you put it on a shirt, when you put color on top of color, the shirt color, you don't have to line it up perfectly. You've got that little tiny bit of wiggle room to get things lined up. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this over here. We'll throw a weed box around it. We'll take our gray. We'll add a little bit of glitter. And there is our zebra pocket. So you can see it's quite easy to do. You don't need to go out and buy a bunch of textures. It's all available for you there on the internet. And you can make, use just about any image, make any texture you need to make pretty quick and pretty easy right here in CorelDRAW. Now what I did do, just as a kind of a bonus, what I did do is I came in here, just to give you another example. We'll open up our font manager here. We'll go to our Monogram KK font. And what I did do here is we're going to change this up a bit. We're going to add a monogram to the pocket. So I just want to show you quick how we would do this. So we'll do something like that. Not sure why it changed fonts on me. There we go. So we'll add a quick monogram. Now if we go to wireframe mode, you see how all the letters are overlapping one another, but we'll just go ahead and we'll weld those together. So you can see now where they overlapped, it'll be fine. So let's go back to enhance mode. And then what we can do is take those letters, we're going to group those two together, and we'll take these letters We'll place them right on top, something like this. Make it a little bit smaller maybe. And what we might want to do is we might want to add just a tiny bit of contour. Just a tiniest little bit. Maybe, and just to thicken those letters up a little bit. It'll make it easier to cut this way. So we'll break that contour group apart. We'll delete. See how it just thickened those letters up a little bit? And then we'll select our monogram. And remember, we have a grouped, two colors we have grouped together. And we'll trim. And if we delete or move our monogram out of the way, so our shirt color is going to show through there. And then we have our two colors of glitter here. So let's ungroup that. Show you how this is going to cut. So here's our silver. See how the monogram cuts out of the silver? And of course, here is our other. Now I'm going to back up a minute here. We're not going to cut. See, now we haven't cut through. And look at, let's ungroup it. Let's look at just cutting the zebra. That's cool. And if we take away the pink, that's not so cool. So it's better. It doesn't look as good. But you can see even just by itself, that's kind of interesting look too. So we have lots of flexibility there. But you can see all the different ideas. I do kind of like that monogram in there. So that's how you would create that monogram inside, so that shirt color would show through. And you have a neat little design. So anyhow, all kinds of things you can do, but I just want to give you an idea of how we went about creating that design. So you can, if you have an idea of something you want to create, maybe you have a little better idea how to go about actually creating it. Thanks for watching.